Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to NEWSROOM. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 8th of October 2021. These are the stories that will be under discussion during the course of the show. We'll begin with the news from Afghanistan, whether it be the article that has been published, written by Moeed Yusuf, the National Security Advisor, in which he talks about the issues that pertain to Afghanistan, whether it be the humanitarian crisis or whether it be the other issues that concern Afghanistan. And he says that there needs to be a major donor conference to formulate immediate humanitarian and economic relief gain for averting risks of instability and terror threat to the entire world. He was, of course, writing for a magazine that is known as Foreign Affairs, which is US based. At the same time, he talks about different apprehensions that the world has about Afghanistan, and he also talks about India and its role in the past in Afghanistan. Then, of course, talking in the same context of Afghanistan, we know that Wendy Sherman is here, who's a US Deputy Secretary of State. She's here on a two-day official visit. She had gone to India before. Now she's here talking about Afghanistan, talking about US Pakistan relationship as well, but of course most importantly talking about Afghanistan. She has met with the Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab. She has also met with Moeed Yusuf Saab. We'll be talking about how important her visit is also in the context of Afghanistan. And then we'll be talking about breast cancer, that is a disease that is concerning in the entire world. Women across the entire gamut of the globe are, of course, going through this disease in one form or the other, a certain percentage. Nevertheless, we need to be extremely important and vigilant. And of course, the Breast Cancer Awareness Month is the month of October. And today, more than 100 iconic buildings of Pakistan are going to turn pink to support Pink Ribbons Breast Cancer Awareness Campaign that is happening today as well. And then we'll be talking about the National Resilience Day that is being held today. On this very day in the year 2005, Azad Jammu and Kashmir was shook by a massive earthquake which resulted in countless casualties and of course infrastructure damage. People still remember that day, and this is what today is all about, the National Resilience Day. And finally, the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded to journalist Maria Ressa of the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov of Russia for their fight for freedom of expression. Congratulations to the both of them. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first segment, that is of course concerning Afghanistan, whether it be the article that the National Security Advisor Moeed Yusuf Saab wrote in Foreign Affairs, or whether it be the visit of Wendy Sherman. More in the following report.
The Afghan endgame presents another test to mercurial Pak-US ties spanning 70 years of difficult partnership. Contrary to American ambivalent rhetoric, Pakistan as a responsible regional actor vehemently facilitated the Afghan peace settlement to materialize smooth US departure. Marking high-level American diplomatic engagement with Pakistan, after some bitter developments, a 7-member delegation led by U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman arrived in Pakistan to hold discussions on key regional and international issues. Unsurprisingly, the key issue which garnered the limelight during the Islamabad-Washington bilateral engagement was Afghanistan, as the war-ravaged country stands at crossroads amid growing concerns of possible implosion of humanitarian catastrophe. Reportedly, the U.S. delegation acknowledged Pakistan's dedicated efforts to evacuate foreigners from Afghanistan and the help it extended to Afghan refugees. Pakistan also deciphered its pragmatic Afghan policy on the occasion and urged the U.S. to maintain contact with the interim Taliban regime for sake of protecting vital interests. In an article published in the US-based journal Foreign Affairs, National Security Advisor Moeed Yusuf reiterated Pakistan's long-standing position on Afghanistan by emphasizing that wait-and-see approach regarding Afghanistan would be tantamount to abandonment of the war-ravaged country. Islamabad is cognizant of ripple effects emanating from a beleaguered Afghanistan and hence has persistently advocated crafting emergency plans for immediate humanitarian and economic relief in collusion with regional and international stakeholders. Moreover, despite the US drawdown, Washington and Islamabad still need to work closely with each other to usher long-term peace and stability in Afghanistan. US has historically envisioned ties with Pakistan from narrow geopolitical prism instead of establishing sustainable broad-based partnership. Owing to tectonic shifts in the regional order, time is ripe to reorient Pakistan-US ties from narrow security prism towards close economic cooperation, enhanced regional connectivity and common vision for a peaceful South Asia.
To talk more about Afghanistan and the latest situation that emanates from our neighboring country, and of course the visit of Wendy Sherman, we've been joined by two important guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. Lieutenant General Raza Muhammad Khan Saab, he's a defense analyst, and our second guest is Ali Sarwar Naqvi Saab, he's a foreign ambassador. Thank you very much to my two eminent guests. Let's begin with Lieutenant General Raza Muhammad Khan Saab. Sir, Afghanistan, so many issues that concern our neighboring country. The most important right now is the humanitarian issue, the crisis that Afghanistan is going through. There are a lot of concerns that many journalists across the world are writing about. Why is the world not reacting as it should, despite Pakistan's apprehensions, despite Pakistan talking on different fora as well? And of course, I'll also talk about Moeed Yusuf Saab's article in Foreign Affairs, in which he talks also about the Afghan crisis.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think the main reason is that the United States and its partner India in particular, they are still in a state of shock. They have still not absorbed that shock. Officials in both the countries are busy in scapegoating, mainly Pakistan, also the previous Afghan regime, the armed forces of Afghanistan, and the Afghan president. That is the reason. Now, coming back to the specifics in Afghanistan, I think only about 10 minutes back, there was an explosion in Kunduz, killing 9 people and I think injuring more than 90. Obviously, this is by ISIS. The World Food Programme has recently given a statement that at least 14 million Afghans are short of food. This is despite the fact that the Afghan funds have been seized in the United States. The IMF has stopped helping them, and they are moving towards a humanitarian disaster. And if that happens, obviously, Afghanistan could go into a failed state condition, and that will have serious repercussions not only for Pakistan, the United States, the entire region, but the whole world. And I think the sooner the United States in particular understands this, the better it would be for them. And this is, yes, and this is not the first time that the security in Afghanistan post 15 August has deteriorated, because there are elements there of Daesh, of ISIS-K, Indian law, who do not want a stable government there led by the Taliban. So again, I think I'm sure all these would have been discussed by Pakistan with the visiting US State Department officials. One point that I'd like to make is that, I think we need to hand them over all the 3 dossiers which Pakistan has previously shared with the international community in the UN and the UN, which is the Indian state-sponsored terrorism in Pakistan, the previous Afghan regimes sponsored terrorism in Pakistan before August.
All right, Pakistan, US, as you said, it's very important for the US to understand the current situation and to move in the right direction. Ali Sarwar Naqvi Saab, Wendy Sherman is in Pakistan. She also went to India before she came here. She understands the perspective, as does the US government. Will there be a change as far as the US policy towards Afghanistan is concerned, keeping in view that the current government in Afghanistan is the Afghan Taliban, a government that the US has certain apprehensions about?
That's a very broad-ranging question. In the first place, the American approach to Afghanistan seems to be quite a clear and specific approach, which is not to engage with the Taliban in any manner that it can be helpful to the Taliban. I mean, they have their strong prejudice against the Taliban, and their engagement with the Taliban in Doha was with the specific purpose of disengaging the United States from Afghanistan. Now, that is not going to change. I mean, Wendy Sherman is a very important official. She is the Deputy Secretary of State.
Of course.
But I don't think that whatever we say to her is going to make any difference to US policies at the moment.
But she definitely is here to ascertain the situation on the ground, isn't she?
Yes, but in Mumbai she made a speech which 2 days ago, in which she said at the Aspen Institute that she is going to Pakistan with a very specific and a very narrow agenda, and that is basically to engage Pakistan to be strict with the Taliban, not to help Taliban regime, and so on and so forth. And that is contrary to what we have been saying and what we do and what is actually our national interest. You see here, Omar, the question is that we have to see what flexibility we can provide to the United States in the context of our national interest, and in regard to what the Americans want, I don't think we can
that's a very interesting point that you made, that is flexibility. I'll come to Raza Muhammad Khan Saab. Sir, flexibility as far as the US stance or policy towards Afghanistan or Pakistan is concerned. As Ali Sarwar Naqvi Saab pointed out, that there was a speech that Wendy Sherman made in Mumbai before she came to Pakistan, and saying that she came with a narrow agenda. Now here she is met with Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab, with our national security advisor as well, and both have reiterated Pakistan's stance, whether it be concerning Afghanistan, whether it be concerning in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Will all of that be understood by the US side, or will it fall on deaf ears?
Well, one can only hope that they understand what Pakistan tells them now and what Pakistan has been telling them since the last 20 years. Unfortunately, in the last 20 years, they did not listen much to us. They have been influenced by the disinformation of India. And what I will, whatever she said in India, I would not call it narrow. I would call it myopic, extremely myopic. And I think they would realize this policy. Also, they made a mention, that they would not hyphenate Pakistan with India. So obviously, the Pakistani government has its own interests, and probably it should not then hyphenate the United States with China. So that will also get dehyphenated. And if that is what they want, so be it. In addition to that, I think the relationship between the United States and Pakistan, I think in the past it was actually governed by security concerns, which are still relevant. And I think this has been said by the US Department of Defense, also by the US Secretary of State. But unfortunately, the importance is not being given to this. And one example of that is that since 2006, no US president has visited Pakistan, although everyone possibly has been there to India. We haven't seen, any visits by US senior officials to Pakistan in the past, or their politicians. So I think all this needs to happen now, and we hope that with this 2 days of stay here, when she listens to the Pakistani perspective, she will take home, what our perceptions are, and let's hope that makes some difference to the US policies.
All right, now Wendy Sherman's visit, Lieutenant General Saab, coincides with the article that has been published in Foreign Affairs by Moeed Yusuf Saab, who's our National Security Advisor, and he talks about Afghanistan. He talks about 2 points as far as Afghanistan is concerned. I'll quote him. He said, "Today Afghanistan faces a choice. A, it can either walk the arduous path of peace, or B, it can revert to civil unrest, and the latter will have catastrophic repercussions for the Afghan people and a spillover effect for the neighborhood and beyond. Does Afghanistan also understand the turmoil that it is currently present in, whether it be the humanitarian or the economic crisis or the other crisis that it is facing?
Of course, they understand it very well. I think they are still hopeful that, whatever agreements were made in Doha, through the Doha agreement, by both the Taliban as well as the United States, would be honored. And they claim that they are following whatever they had promised. But the United States is of the view that, they are falling short of their expectations. Now, their expectations include, respect for the human rights of everyone, particularly women. The Taliban have now an interim government, and they have included, some people from the other ethnicities, and they have promised to include more. And I think this is going to be a gradual process for them. They cannot immediately meet all the expectations, whether it's the United States or the rest of the international community. So I think they need to be given a conditional recognition so that as a first step, all the money that has been held by the United States and the IMF is
but
released.
Sir, this conditional recognition is being tied up with all the different issues, whether it be concerning women or girls or other issues, humanitarian issues, that the US says need to be taken up by the Afghan government in the manner that they want it to be handled, and only then will they move forward. Well, how do you see this? Don't you feel there's going to be a status quo as far as this whole situation is concerned?
Well, I think this looks like that. But I think they also need to have a look at what is happening in India, which they have this delegation has visited, and they have actually conveniently ignored all the human rights violations, which include the human rights of not only Muslims but Christians and Dalits and Sikhs, and particularly in Kashmir. Not even a word about them. So, I mean, they should also give this lecture to the Indian leadership. In addition to what
General Saab, they will never give the lecture to. Ali Sahab and Naqvi Sahab, let's come to you a little bit. Pakistan has been a victim of the wars in Afghanistan. That is what Moeed Yusuf Saab says in the article in Foreign Affairs. At the same time, as per the reports go, Joe Biden's government is focusing on 4 major points as far as its talks with Pakistan is concerned: recognition of the Taliban government in Kabul, international sanctions on Afghanistan, access to Afghanistan, counter-terrorism cooperation. What kind of future do you see as far as Pakistan's role vis-a-vis the US is concerned when it comes to Afghanistan?
Well, you see, this is the point that we have to focus on. We are not going to worry about what the US interest in Afghanistan is. And if the US doesn't want to engage or recognize or have any dealings with the Taliban government, they are a reality. They have taken over power through sheer public support. I mean, nowhere in the entire country has there been a battle for the city. There has been no battle for Kabul. There has been no battle for Kandahar. There has been no battle for Herat. The people have welcomed the Taliban. This is the reality. The Taliban have the acceptance of the people of Afghanistan, and the Americans don't want to recognize that. In fact, they created a structure in 2002 in the Bonn conference, which was totally artificial, which has crumbled and crashed to the ground, and that is why all this has happened. So Pakistan cannot sort of close its eyes to all these things and take cognizance of US interest, because the US interest is totally
But Ali
unrealistic.
Naqvi Saab, for example, if US continues with its current policy as far as Afghanistan is concerned and conveys that to Pakistan, doesn't it put Pakistan in a certain quandary? Where is Pakistan going then all of that with all of that? Don't we foresee then other issues or crises that will also engulf Pakistan directly or indirectly in the coming months and years?
Yes, I think you are right. The point is that the Americans will try to pin the blame on Pakistan or try to punish Pakistan for not supporting them all the way. Now, there, I think Pakistan has a diplomatic challenge of mobilizing countries like Russia and China and even Iran for a regional solution to Afghanistan, for enabling the Taliban regime to have outside dealings and to overcome its humanitarian crisis through regional cooperation and regional effort. And there, Pakistan should not stand out alone, because the Americans are going to be very, nasty towards us. And we diplomatically we have to avoid that such a situation, and we should also avoid being pressurized by the United States to do what they want to do in Afghanistan.
All right, now General Raza Khan Saab, let's talk a little bit about the impact that Pakistan has had, whether it be resulting in the deaths of tens of thousands of people or the loss of billions of dollars in economy, and also the whole narco trafficking or Kalashnikov culture that has been also pointed out in his article in Foreign Affairs by Moeed Yusuf Sahab. Do you feel this can be avoided? Do you feel steps need to be taken? Do you feel the US understands Pakistan's perspective on avoidance of these issues is concerned?
I think these issues were also mentioned by the Prime Minister, most of them, in fact, during his address to the UN General Assembly. And it is good that they have been mentioned again by the NSA. We hope that, when these kinds of perceptions are read in the Western world, particularly the United States, I think it would make some difference. But I'll come back again to what is the common interest of the United States and Pakistan, which they should be discussing. And that is, the threat emanating from Daesh and from Al-Qaeda to both countries. And for that, I think they need to partner with Pakistan, in our fencing of efforts at the Pak-Afghan border. Also, in the return of the Afghan refugees back to Afghanistan, they should actually help us financially. And I think Pakistan needs to also take up the case with them of repayment of the balance of the coalition support fund, which was again frozen by President Trump in 2016. And there are billions of dollars. The same money could be utilized, to assist us in fencing of the border and the return of the Afghan refugees. Also, I would like to very quickly add that, whatever has been said in India only yesterday, I would say they were highly undiplomatic. When you say something in an adversary's countries, that our trip to the next country is not for rebuilding a broader relationship with Pakistan, it is congratulating the other side on doing extremely well as President of the UN Security Council, wherein we are aware that Afghanistan the previous regime was actually facilitated in blaming Pakistan. And it has also been said that the United States is proud to be a major defense partner with India, not realizing that this is going to give rise to an arms race in the subcontinent, which is not going to be the interest of Pakistan or the entire region. So I think all these issues needs to be raised with the United States by Pakistan.
All right. Final question, Ali Naqvi Saab. India's role in Afghanistan, past, present. We know exactly the details of that. That has also been said at various occasions by our Prime Minister, by our Foreign Minister, now in this article by Moeed Yusuf Saab, also in different dossiers that have been presented to the international community by our ministers as well. And at the same time, Pakistan is being blamed, Pakistan is being made the scapegoat. What kind of maneuver or policy or line should Pakistan toe now following the visit of Wendy Sherman?
Well, first, India's role. India, the United States, because it has struck up a strategic partnership with India, which is basically aimed at countering China. This is a geopolitical sort of maneuver on the part of the United States. Because of that, the Americans would like the Indians to continue to have some influence in Afghanistan, but the Taliban regime is not likely to even entertain the idea, because they know very well what the Indians are up to, and that is one thing that is a matter of satisfaction to Pakistan. Now, this broader game that goes on, we are aware of it, but the United States is a global power, and we have to be mindful of our interests, but we cannot completely turn hostile to the Americans. We should remain engaged. That is in our interest, that we should remain engaged, as all countries want. Even China doesn't want any hostility with the Americans, because to alienate the United States for nothing is not going to be in our interest. So we should remain engaged. We should talk to Wendy Sherman about our perspective, and I think Mr. Moeed Yusuf, Dr. Moeed Yusuf's article, I'm sorry, article has very, very well portrayed the Pakistani position.
Of course, I think different perspectives, all the different angles that Pakistan is working on, and the things that need to be highlighted, especially in the United States of America, about Pakistan's perspective, whether it be the way it has been moving forward for peace in Afghanistan, the overtures that it has made, whether it be India's role, and whether it be the way the US is also sidelining Pakistan, and of course opting for India, is something that we've been talking about in the last few years, and we will continue. And of course, this has also been highlighted in the article by Moeed Yusuf Saab. Let's hope that this visit by Wendy Sherman brings to fruition some positive aspects of the relationship between our two countries, and also a better understanding of Pakistan's perspective to the United States of America as far as Afghanistan is concerned. Let's come to our, before I go to the second segment, of course, thank you very much to both of my guests, Lieutenant General Ressa Muhammad Khan Saab and Ali Sarwar Naqvi Saab, who have joined us, who have talked to us about this very, very important topic. Now let's come to our second segment, and that concerns breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. This is the month of breast cancer awareness. It is celebrated all across the world. Also here in Pakistan, today we are going to celebrate National Pink Illumination Day, where different buildings are going to be illuminated in the pink color. Why have a breast cancer awareness day? Because breast cancer is one of the leading cases or causes of death across the world, and also one of the leading cancers across the world, including in Pakistan. It affects a lot of women around the world, also in Pakistan. So we need to not only understand what it is all about, but also be aware of it so that we can catch it at the right moment. More in the following report.
October is globally observed as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It is also named as Pinktober, as pink ribbon symbolizes the breast cancer awareness internationally. This month aims to spread awareness and educate women about this disease. It also focuses on raising funds to help those who are affected by it. Breast cancer is the most commonly occurring cancer in women and the second most common cancer overall. It's a worldwide challenge. Its early treatment can be done if there is awareness among people. Every year in Pakistan, 90,000 women are diagnosed with breast cancer. The main causes include obesity, lack of knowledge, unawareness, and unhygienic circumstances. In Pakistan, different hospitals are working to give proper treatment to the patients of breast cancer. Screening centers with healthcare professionals are providing awareness and screening campaigns in early detection and the effective management of this disease. Pink Ribbon Pakistan is a non-funded, self-sustained and only organization in the country which is dedicatedly working on the issue of breast cancer with nationwide outreach since 2004. Their mission is to prevent and cure breast cancer by creating widespread awareness through community engagement on prevention, early detection, and increased access to treatment. In support of Pinktober, national buildings of Pakistan also turn pink. To celebrate Breast Cancer Awareness Month, different campaigns and events are being held nationwide as well as worldwide.
Now, today is being celebrated as the National Pink Illumination Day across Pakistan. To talk more about breast cancer awareness, how the women and also some of the men who get the breast cancer can avoid themselves from the repercussions, the serious repercussions, including death and of course the severity of this cancer. We've been joined by Omar Aftab Saab. He's the CEO of the Pink Ribbon Pakistan. Thank you very much, Omar Aftab, to have joined us. Omar Aftab, my first question as a layman would be, why doesn't the world, especially countries such as Pakistan, understand the importance of breast cancer and breast cancer awareness?
Well, unfortunately, we being a patriarchal society, so talking about anything related to women and then especially talking something about women's sexuality, it becomes a taboo. On the other hand, the whole focus of this Pink Ribbon campaign is that breast cancer is the only cancer which can be diagnosed at early stage and all the symptoms are external. And if it's diagnosed at early stage, chances of survival are more than 90%. But on the other hand, we see that 70% of patients, they reach hospital at third stage, which is very late. And then it becomes...
Is it basically because of ignorance, basically because of not understanding the signs and symptoms of breast cancer?
It's because of taboo around it. And then of course ignorance is also, but more so it's about taboo, because we have seen in all of these years that even if women are being diagnosed with breast cancer, they would not talk about it, they would not go for treatment for it, they will not share it with their family, will not share it with their friends, and that's a very unfortunate part, because we need to understand what is cancer. So in our body, all the time, cells are made and they die.
Of course.
But if some point in time, the speed of cells which are made and the speed of cells which die, if it outnumber, it becomes a tumor and it attacks any vital organ of the body. And in women, mostly it attacks on the breast and it becomes breast cancer. So it's a disease. Unfortunately, we see that in many of remote areas of Pakistan, for example, in rural Sindh, it's believed that it has something to do with witchcraft. In interior southern Punjab, we have seen that it's believed that this is something to do with the character of the woman, if she has done something wrong. So there are lots of myths and misconceptions, unfortunately, around this, which makes it...
Myths, misconceptions, Omar Aftab Saab, or stigmas that are related to breast cancer. How can they be addressed in the right manner? Is it through awareness campaigns? Is it through proper education at different levels, or is it through the local governments or the provincial governments or all the other governments, all the local leaders that are present in any society who should get themselves involved in telling the women and the men as well? Because of course, as you said in the beginning, it's a patriarchal society, that breast cancer is something that can be treated up to 90% cases if it is detected early.
So the first most important thing was to start talking about it. And we started this campaign, it's now almost 18 years. And I think most of the time we were just fighting to start talking about the issue at every level. For example, at the individual level, at the family level. When we launched our campaign in 2004, all the TV channels, they blacked out our launching. They said we can't take this word B on television channels. It took me years to, you know, go to each channel and fight with them.
And make them understand the importance of talking about an issue such as
The
this.
disease which kills 40,000 women every year, I believe that if this would have been any other country, they would have, you know, there should be a medical emergency for that. If we compare COVID deaths as compared to breast cancer deaths, yes, COVID is dangerous, it's important, it's pandemic, but if you compare the deaths, still breast cancer deaths per year are much, much higher than the COVID deaths.
In Pakistan, there are thousands of deaths every year because
it
of
is,
this.
and then, you know, over 10 million women are at risk of breast cancer in Pakistan. And another alarming fact is that globally, the average age is 55 years. In Pakistan, the average age of breast cancer is 35 years. And having said this, in last 5 years, we are seeing young girls as young as 16, 17, 18 being diagnosed with breast cancer, which is again a very unusual trend.
This unusual trend, Umar Aftab Sahab, is it because of the changing environment, scenarios, the way the food we eat, what we drink, junk food, or do these things
Yes,
also
I think
contribute?
food is the most, because recent studies are telling that 40% of cancer, breast cancer, is preventable with lifestyle change, especially what we are eating. The genetically modified food, lots of chemicals, lots of pesticides, steroids used to grow food at
chicken, for example.
Chicken, milk, all of these things. Then there are these preservatives, additives and colors used in FDA has banned lots of preservatives, additives, colors long time back, proven fact that they are cancerous, but still we are using it. So we need to really take this very seriously.
All right. And finally, Umar Aftab Sahab, when you talk of changing mindsets of the people, I mean, maybe in the urban areas, people will understand a bit quicker or a bit in a better manner, but in rural areas, people do not. As you said, there are so many stigmas that she's bewitched or something of the sort, she's done something wrong. Do you feel the importance of lady health workers or lady doctors or lady counselors become even the more important, especially in the rural areas, to make the women understand that they can also self-diagnose themselves to know if they have something?
So two things which we are doing, one is that we are running a very extensive college program at every level. So we have seen that if we go to any village and we go to a college, so girls, when we aware them about breast cancer, so they take home the message to their mothers, sisters, Khala, Pupo. The other thing is, yes, we got included the training of breast cancer in Lady Health Worker program. They are now trained on that, so at least they can be the first point of contact for, you know, self-examination, clinical examination.
And women are more comfortable, especially in rural areas, to go and talk to other women.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much, Umar Aftab Sahab, to have come all the way to talk to us about breast cancer and awareness and all the good work that your organization is doing. Kudos to you and your organization, and we wish you all the very best with all these efforts that you are bringing forward. Despite all the apprehensions that you had in the beginning, you still fought against the tide and you are succeeding in all of that. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. And let's come to our last two stories very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. The first, of course, is the National Resilience Day that is being observed today. Today is the 16th anniversary of the deadly earthquake that struck Azad, Jammu and Kashmir this very day in the morning. We all remember those jolts that we felt on the 8th of October 2005. Today is the day we all resolve to work towards alleviating the effects and removing the effects and trying to work towards a better society, a place where we can also move the tide when it comes to earthquakes. We know what has happened in Balochistan very recently as well. Scores of people have also passed away, so many injured, including children who have also passed away. We need to understand that Pakistan is an area where there have been earthquakes, deadly, and there might be earthquakes in the future. We need to also understand that we need to be aware of those first signs of an earthquake and how to prevent ourselves in our society. The National Resilience Day, of course, is to express solidarity with the people of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Islamabad, who have lost their near and dear ones in this October 2005 earthquakes. May all their souls rest in eternal peace who have lost their lives or those who have lost their loved ones. Now let's come to our final segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the Nobel Peace Prize. Of course, it's a very, very important prize every year that is given to people who've done a lot of work. This year, it has been given to 2 journalists. Being a journalist, of course, it makes you even prouder of the fact that it's 2 journalists who've gotten this award. This has been awarded to Maria Ressa of the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov of Russia. The winners were announced on Friday by Berit Reiss-Andersen, chair of the Norwegian Nobel Committee. Now, Ressa, let's talk about the Philippines. She, in 2012, founded Rappler, the news website that has focused on the attention to Duterte's regime's controversial, murderous anti-drug campaign. And our second journalist, Muratov, was one of the founders of the independent Russian newspaper Novaya Gazeta, that of course was founded in 1993. It is the most independent newspaper in Russia as we speak today, and of course a critical attitude towards power, and it is the way these 2 journalists have fought against the tide, have fought for the rights and for the freedom of expression, that they have been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize this very year. Congratulations to the both of them, and may you prosper even further in the months to come, and may others follow your example as well. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. Today is the end of the week. It's Friday, so we'll of course inshallah see you all Monday. But until then, kindly take care of yourselves and your loved ones, whether it be COVID-19 and taking the necessary precautions and following the standard operating procedures and getting yourselves vaccinated, or whether it be also to get yourselves detected for breast cancers or other cancers. Try to make your society, your nation, a healthy nation. Allah Hafiz.